Stephen Colbert, he hated Trump a lot, and he had that late night show, and he didn't really do that well. I mean, I guess his ratings were okay, probably not as good as Gutfeld's, but he cost a fortune. So he was getting paid a ton of money. His staff was getting paid a ton of money, and they had to have that live studio audience for which they had bookers and entertainers. I actually went to it years ago, like many, actually, that was Letterman. What am I saying? So back when it was Letterman, and that was still, a CBS show. We're going way back. I mean, this is like 1999, and I was an analyst at Goldman Sachs, and they were trying to entertain us and keep us happy because we were working all the time. And so somehow they got us tickets to this thing. And I just remember thinking, wow, there's a lot of work that goes into the studio audience for this show. And that was Letterman, but similar type thing goes on with Colbert. And I want you to see this because he's kind of evolved, shall we say, over the years, evolved right into obliteration.
Donald Trump has been sworn in as president of the United States. I know. Listen, we're just as confused as you are. Joe Biden did it. I sat down and just started crying with relief. And Evie said, you never have to talk about him again. And then I cried with joy. After a bizarre and vicious campaign fueled by a desperate need not to go to jail, Donald Trump has won the 2024 election. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May.
Sweet justice, right? Sweet justice. I'm teasing. The reality is everybody's like, oh, it's because he didn't like Trump. Well, there's a lot of people there at CBS that don't like Trump. So I don't think that he would be necessarily specifically singled out in that kind of way. I don't think he's actually important enough. He actually didn't have much of an online presence, which was one of his problems. In fact, I'd actually show you more clips from Colbert, full disclosure. But his team would never let me. I would get hit with copyright strikes whenever I showed Colbert. I think I'm able to show that montage because somebody else made it. I think the Maze account on Twitter. But it would be like boom, boom, boom. They would get you for copyright. And it's like, guys, come on. It's 2025. If you guys want to like cut and clip from my show, I totally let you. You're allowed to do that. All you want. I'm not going to stand in the way of that. Again, with this idea that there's this freedom of speech, but Stephen Colbert wouldn't let anybody touch his stuff. I mean, even if you were on his side, you weren't allowed to touch his stuff. Well, nowadays, if it can't go viral, then who cares? You're kind of irrelevant. And his show was irrelevant. And it was losing money. And because it was losing so much money, I mean, we're talking tens of millions, somewhere around 20 to 30, or I've even seen some estimates as high as 40. I mean, they were losing a lot of money on this program. And so the Writers Guild of America East and West, they're all upset, and they're going to Letitia James. Tishy, baby, can you help us? Can you help us? Can you help us? Because we want an investigation to understand why this was canceled. And the members, they're basically writers on the Colbert program, and they're upset. Well, here's the deal, guys. Guess what? Your little union jobs as writers in these comedy things where, by the way, he's not even coming up with his own darn jokes and everything is so scripted, that's over. Hello, we're up over 900,000 right here on the Trish Regan Show, and we're growing and growing and growing every day. And why? Because it's real. It's authentic. And there's no scripts, and there's no teleprompter, and there's nobody writing what I'm supposed to say or telling me what I'm supposed to say or scripting a joke for me. Thank you very much. If I'm funny. It's all me, okay? All totally me. So the Guild is all upset. The writers are out of a job. They had a good gig going. They were costing, however, CBS all kinds of money. And so they got canceled. Yep, they got canceled. And, I would just say that they don't seem to understand, the writers in the union, that when you have a show that does not perform, this is embarrassing for him, frankly. I mean, for goodness sakes, you couldn't make a go of it, Stephen. What kind of operation are you running? I mean, really? Losing tens of millions of dollars a year, buddy boy? What kind of operation are you running? And then your writers, and perhaps Letitia James, think you ought to stay in business, even though you're losing tens of millions of dollars? I don't think so. They had something like a $100 million budget, and then they're losing 30. That's not how you stay in business. Meanwhile, you look at all the stuff that's happening right here on YouTube, right? And there's people that are way funnier. and way more interesting. And they don't have to pay their staff of union expensive writers that expect to fly first class and this, that, and the other in their union contract. Times have changed. And guess what? Colbert, buddy, you didn't keep up with it and you allowed your show to descend into financial chaos. So I don't think you're going to have a leg to stand on. But, it's never stopped Letitia James, who might actually be able to get a little bit more PR out of this one. I'm sure she's circling the wagons. Oh, I can sue CBS. Won't this be fun? I want to find out exactly why they got rid of this guy. I think it's going to be even more embarrassing for him because they're going to see how badly mismanaged his show was. I'll tell you one thing. He's not the only one. Jimmy Kimmel over there at ABC, I have a feeling you might be next because you're costing a pretty penny too. And nobody watches. Nobody watches anymore. I mean, I think that Fox's experiment with Gutfeld has proved it all out. You don't need to have the big, expensive, union-based network show anymore. You can actually do a much more powerful show that's actually funny for a whole lot less money. So, Jimmy, bye-bye, bye-bye. We're not going to miss you. Stephen Colbert, we're definitely not going to miss you. Who's that other guy? He actually grew up in my cousin's hometown in New Hampshire. He used to be on 60 Minutes. Forgive me, what am I saying? 60 Minutes. He used to be on Saturday Night Live. Oh, gosh. What's his name, guys? My aunt caught him once drinking underage in her basement. He got a whole lot of trouble. And he's a really mean little dude because he went after me pretty hard back in March 2020. And I'm like, but buddy, like, you're from New Hampshire. There's not that many of us. Come on. Gosh, do you know who I'm talking about? He's another one who has like a late night show. This shows you how irrelevant these people are, right? Yeah, he had some show. He used to be on Saturday Night Live, and now he's on another network, and I'm betting that this guy's going to go too. Bye-bye, bye-bye. We don't need any of you anymore. By the way, everybody's watching TV over here. I told you this. I was at the airport and was recognized twice. Not because I used to work at any of those networks, but because it's people that are watching the YouTube show. And they're like, hey, Trish, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to be over in Ireland. And they're like, you're still going to do the show, right? I've seen you. I remember when you were in New Hampshire and you were doing the show. I remember last year when you were in Ireland, you were doing the show. Or somebody mentioned to me when I was in Italy. Do you guys remember last summer? I was in Italy and I sent the kids out for ice cream for gelato. And I gave them a few euros and said, don't come back for an hour. I'm going to be live. And they were banging on the door. And I'm like, okay, stop the presses. Those are the kids. Anyway, it's very real. It's very authentic here. And that's what, no, is it Jimmy Fallon? It's not Jimmy Fallon. That's the ABC guy, Donna. There's another one that I can't think of. He's from Bedford, New Hampshire, originally. Seth. That's it. Seth Meyers. I was going to say the kind of skinny little face. Seth Meyers, who's so not funny. Again, another one who has all his jokes written for him. We don't need these people anymore. We need more creativity. I mean, The Atlantic, as soon as this story came out, they were all over it. They're trying to suggest that somehow this is just CBS acquiescing to one Donald Trump. They rallied to his side. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do without Stephen Colbert in the business? I don't know, guys. I think you're going to be just fine. I think there's plenty of people ready, able, and willing to replace him right here on YouTube. Actually, Paramount and Skydance's executives have demonstrated that they aren't interested in defending CBS's journalism or its editorial independence to the detriment not of the network's historical reputation, not only to the reputation, but also to the excellent journalists still working there. I'm sorry, Colbert is not a journalist. Okay, I know you want to go off on all that, but they didn't cancel 60 Minutes yet. I mean, they probably will, or they'll totally revamp it. Interestingly enough, Skydance, if it comes in, it actually has a guy that used to run NBC that it wants running CBS and revamping the entire thing. Maybe Jeff Skull. Anyway, Jeff Zucker is part of that team that would be coming in as well. And, Jeff Zucker used to run NBC and also CNN and drove both places kind of into the ground. So we'll see if he's able to salvage CBS. I doubt it. But in the case of The Atlantic, they're trying to make more of this than it is. They're trying to say that this is journalism. I'm sorry, the guy's not a journalist. He's a comedian, and a bad one at that. So sure, okay, Maybe Letitia James takes this one on because she'll get a little bit more attention and we can all get a good laugh out of it. You know, she hasn't been in the news very much lately. Perhaps this will keep her. Thank you so much, Le Miranda. Appreciate the generosity. You guys are asking if I'm running into Rosie O'Donnell here. I've been looking for her. You know, nobody really knows her here. Isn't that interesting? She's definitely like under the radar. Forgive me. I don't have commercial breaks anymore. So the reality is sometimes like the gulps of water that I would take when I was on set in normal TV land, you guys see all that too. So there's no commercial. I just go and go and go and go. And so, you know, occasionally I have to get a gulp of water in there. You know, I'm a little dehydrated. I've been traveling for the last several days. I would say this, Rosie O'Donnell is not really doing Ireland any favors, but nobody really seems to notice that she's here. She's a far bigger deal, shall we say, in the U.S. than she's ever been here in Ireland. But I just want to say that, you know, the truth about Colbert is he was losing money. And in any kind of business, you cannot continue to operate if you're losing money. It's again, why we love our sponsors here on the show and why I'm thankful for your constant, you know, I'm here every single day, I'm live, and you guys have been subscribing and sharing and getting the word out. And all of that's really important because, you know, you're not going to, I mean, I do sort of do this as a labor of love. But, you know, it's also a business. And I'm a red-blooded American capitalist. I don't believe that you should be running Colbert if he's losing $30 million a year. Period. End of story. And that's all going to come out, and we're going to find out the real reason. He just kind of sucked as a businessman. Maybe the ratings were okay enough, but if the show can't make money, then what are you doing? Thank you very much. I mean, and this is what we're seeing throughout the entire media industry. So there's a lot more firings in my estimation to come. We've talked a lot about CNN. I do think that you're going to see a lot of those anchors be either in a situation where they're getting their salaries cut, or they're going to have to diversify and maybe take on podcasts outside of the network, should the network allow them to do that in order to kind of amplify their revenue somehow, because CNN is not going to be able to pay them. And this has already been articulated throughout the media in this particular Washington Free Beacon story. You also see it, for example, Warner Brothers, being the parent company, has already warned that it's siphoning off its cable businesses into what is being called global networks. And then they're going to have more promising assets be siphoned off into something different. So they're going to have this breakup. It's happening sometime mid next year. And consequently, you know, the dying business is dying. And it's kind of slowly going away. And it means that you're going to keep people there because it still prints money, let's face it. In other words, the cable providers still pay CNN or MSNBC or any of these companies, Fox, a little bit of money for each household they have. And not a little bit of money, it's actually a decent amount of money. It's decent enough that they can't actually pull the cord themselves and say, to heck with it, we're going to get rid of these engagements and all of these contracts, and we're going to go on our own and just do everything we can within the streaming atmosphere. They don't have the luxury of doing that because it's still a decent enough business. But what's going to happen is they're going to cut expenses, cut expenses, cut expenses. And this is what you're seeing. I've told you guys about this, this reporter who is not a very good reporter, but nonetheless, he got some little tidbit about how the CNN employees are actually having to, this is great, these CNN employees are going to have to actually start submitting expenses. I should say receipts when they submit their expenses. Who the heck works in a business where you don't have to submit receipts? I've never even heard of such a thing, honestly. And I've worked at a lot of news networks. You know, not CNN, fortunately, but who knew? At CNN, you don't even have to turn in the receipts. Woohoo! Well, no wonder they're failing. No wonder these businesses are so tried. But of course, they put garbage on the air all the time, and they try to tell you one thing when in fact it's another. And they continue putting these idiots, this one in particular, wants you to believe that egg prices are actually going up under Donald Trump, when she's so dead wrong. Watch.
I do think the panic over this report today is unwarranted, but I do think data is worth watching every month. But it's not. But it's a lot of, it seems like a lot of panic for no reason. You're getting matched reports every month.
It's not panic when we were promised on August 15th of last year that the price of eggs, that the price of bacon, and the price of apples.
69%.
Actually, eggs year over year are up by 20. Are up 27%.
They're down.
I'm sorry.
Since he took office, they're down.
But if year over year.
He promised when he took office they would go down.
Hold on. Let's not fight about statistics here. She's right. Year over year, they are up significantly.
Let's not fight over statistics. Let's not fight over facts. I mean, facts don't matter here on CNN. What do we care? Oh, year over year, they're up. Forget about the fact that they've gone down ever since Donald Trump got into office. That might be kind of relevant because, if you look at year over year, then you have to actually include Biden's egg prices. Check this out. I mean, this is the chart that's actually relevant. And I just find this to be such a wonderful example of how idiotic these people really are. And the idea that they're going to sit there and tell you with a straight face that it's Donald Trump's fault that egg prices are still up 27% year over year when you look at that massive decline. That tells you everything you need to know, but they're dishonest. They're really, really, really dishonest people. I'm looking at the market right now, all of which is higher. You're still seeing the Dow, the S&P moving up, moving up, moving up. Look, we got a lot of good stuff going on. And this is why I think you're seeing Trump soar in the polls. It's why you're seeing so many people excited about all the good stuff, right, that's happening right now. Oil prices actually moving up a little bit too. I think there's an expectation that the economy is going to continually get better. And as the economy gets better, you're going to see more of a booming energy sector right here in the US of A. And isn't that great, right? I mean, if we can be more prosperous and we can bring poverty down, we've got, an economy that's booming. And a lot of this is not just because of the policies that Trump is putting forward, but also because of the effects of those policies, right? So when he comes out and says, I'm going to drill, baby, drill, and I'm going to allow for shale, and I'm going to allow for better technology within the energy industry, that's a pretty good thing. And I know everybody wants to say the energy industry is terrible and bad and this, that, and the other. And I'll just say this. Without the energy industry, we wouldn't be living the lifestyle that we have. It's funny because, again, I'm here in Ireland. During one of the sound bites, I had to run over and press one of the buttons for the lights because I think if there's not a certain amount of motion in the room, it actually turns off all the lights. And that's, they're conserving everything here. They're very, very into conservation. I get it. But I would just say this. Without energy, without fossil fuels, without all this stuff, we don't really have the advantages that we have, right? Because all our clean water systems are powered by fossil fuels. Our food supply chains are powered by fossil fuels. Our drivers are obviously powered by fossil fuels. And so you get activists that want to just blame fossil fuels for everything under the sun. And I'm like, okay, but it's not all bad, guys. And you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I'm a little tired of it. And if you're tired of it, you may want to look at this too, because there's some really good facts here at oilfacts.com. This is brought to you by none other than NASDAQ-listed Prairie Operating Company. It's called the Prairie Operating Company. It's a kind of high-growth, low-cost provider of safe, alternative, responsible American energy in the shale sector, which is just booming in terms of its technology. So go check out more at oilfacts.com.